Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon, potentially.
How you doing, Joe?
Hi,
How do you spell it?
Shane.
Is it spelled David or is it spelled a different way?
Um, no, it's spelt like it in my handle, which is DAFYDD.
Really? David. Ah, so that's the actual
Yeah,
engineering.
I know my handle kind of maybe confuses the issue. It's got my surname at the end, but yeah, David.
David. Huh.
Hi, David.
I always thought it was some play off Daffy Duck. Oh, sorry about that.
Well, no, it's I've I've well, I've hung around Americans before, and I know it's just not a very common name that you would come across.
Yeah. Are you in England then? You're in Europe?
Yeah, in the UK. So I'm in Wales, which is a small country in the UK.
Okay.
That's awesome.
My son is in Leeds.
So I'm I'm around about Cardiff, which is just above your cursor. Yeah, that's where I live,
Okay.
which is the capital city of Wales.
Cool. I got a son over in Leeds.
Okay, well, I have been there a few times.
How far of a drive is that?
Oh, we're probably talking 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not somewhere I would go on a day out or anything.
It's about 250 miles, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. Let's see what we got here. It's a mountainous there in Wales.
It is, yeah. We're quite well known for the mountains, castles,
Yeah,
lakes, a lot of nature, the coastline.
very pretty.
We don't have a big population. I think we're around 3 million or something.
That's very pretty. You ever been there?
Well, I've been to the area, yeah, Snowdon, which is the highest mountain in Wales. And I'm pretty sure I've been up the mountain as well.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not sure if I've been actually to that exact place. And if I'm right, it's 1,000 meters in elevation, 3,500 feet. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very pretty. Cool. All right. Well, it's probably just us, I would imagine. Marcus asked me to run this because he's on vacation. Um, Last time we went over the profiler stuff. Were you here last week? Last month?
I was, yeah.
Method? Okay. Well, I did a little more on it today, getting ready for this, and some of the things that Marcus was complaining about was some of the slowness here. So let me see. I ended up putting get another prompt open here. Okay, so I out. He was doing all his testing on 3000.2, and I was getting around 11 seconds on this stuff. So let's see, where's that? On a simple salt call, he was getting about 11 I was getting 11 seconds here, and on 3001.1 I'm getting 5. So I think we've done something in the grains to address some of the slowness.
Yeah, Shane, I think I think a couple of the grains we made optional if they don't load.
I think we turned them off. Well, we made it default to false.
Right, like for the LXC container stuff.
Yes.
That was a change that did go in, that did increase or decrease the time for Windows.
Right. So I guess I need to have him test out the issue he's having. The problem he had was that, I mean, if you go to his site, his little thing he set up here, let me get that. Was that it was using up CPU. Yeah. And that's exactly the one we disabled. So I need to have him test this again to see if it's fixed for him. All right. So I'll do that with Marcus. So it seems to be addressed. It was addressed also on master branch. I was testing it on master branch. And so then I decided to see, well, which branch did it get fixed on? And it looks like it was fixed on the 3001, maybe .1. I didn't check 3001. So I'll verify that with him. Do you know when the next release is, Joe, for Salt? The magazine?
I do not, but I know that it has been recently pushed back a few extra days.
Are they shooting for October? I'm talking about 3002, not the .2.
Yeah, for Magnesium.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Magnesium, we were initially going to do the September 21st code freeze, but that got pushed a few days.
But you don't know when?
No, not anymore because the dates did change.
Okay. Marcus had something else to get in that he was asking about that, and I couldn't remember the dates. I think I told him October, but if there's a code freeze, he'll need to know that that's
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The only other thing I had on the agenda was David.
Yeah, David, yeah.
David, you wanted to talk about this issue here. Let me pull this up. Are you the one that set up all the Circle CI stuff on this?
Not originally, no. So it's just something that I've worked on over the past couple of weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to have a play around with things really, but while doing that, I realized that the current tests only test the very latest commit. So if in a pull request, somebody has submitted 2 or 3 separate commits, only actually one of them would be tested. So, I mean, straight away, that's not great.
Oh, really?
But while doing that, I mean, I've done a little bit of work with pre-commit for the formulas working group.
Okay.
So I had some experience with that. So I thought it would be handy to add it to SaltWin repo. And so, yeah, I've done that. So I've set up basic configuration file for pre-commit, which checks YAML, but that's not on the SLS file. That's just on normal YAML files, travis.yaml. Checks the markdown, checks the shell script, but shell script is what I've added, and also runs this kind of URL test, which is a local script. And so, yeah, the result of that is that one, you can run the test locally on your own machine, which is obviously beneficial. You can catch any problems before you push. And then also, yeah, if you go lower down, I've added a script which this run pre-commit, which actually tries to work out all of the commits which are involved in the changes. So, I mean, the easiest one is if it's a pull request, it checks all of those commits in the pull request. So yeah, somebody could submit a pull request with 2, 3, 5, 6 different commits, and it would only check the files involved in those commits for this URL check, checking that the URLs are valid or not. So yeah, I mean, at least from my point of view, that's a step forward from what was happening already.
This happens on pre-commit?
Yes, yeah, within pre-commit, yeah. I mean, so you can run that on your own machine, but then also I've changed the Travis file to, rather than just run this test.py, it runs pre-commit itself. So if you look at travis.yaml, so rather than installing the requirements of the script and just running the script itself, I install the dependencies and then install pre-commit and just run through the pre-commit through my shell script, which decides on the files that it needs to check. Is that clear?
Yeah, I'm gonna go through this. Let's see, I'm pretty sure I can check out your commit, right?
Yeah, you should be able to check out my branch or the pull request branch.
Okay. So, do I do a pre-commit install?
Yeah.
Probably need to pip install pre-commit maybe.
Okay, so I was doing this on OS X.
Shane, I think on Windows you need a different pip package. I think it's pip tools. Pip install pip dash tools gives you it. I think it's pip tools. Let me look it up.
I spelled it wrong. You have to have the dash.
Oh, so you already have it.
Pre-commit install.
Nice.
Okay, so Now I have to actually do a commit, or can I pre-commit run, right?
Yeah, you could do a pre-commit run.
Yeah, I mean, you might have to add the all files there.
-A.
-A, yeah, but that will take over 10 minutes to run.
Okay.
So you could make add a new version to one of the SLS files.
Okay. Let's see. I'm sure something's out of date.
Thunderbird is out of date.
I'm sure I can find something here. Let's bring it over here so I can find one. Let's see, this one they come out with a whole bunch of versions. Five, 7, 1. Okay. Jeez. And now do pre-commit again.
You have to add it, I think. Add that change.
Oh,
Yeah, you don't have to commit. Just add it.
how do I add it? Oh, just add.
Git add. Yeah.
Okay. Bash.
Okay. Well, like I said, I mean, I developed this on OS X.
So is this
And
this is in the script then? So we need to have some Windows checks in it or something?
I mean, I'm sure we could probably get it to run on Windows. We just need to figure out the dependencies and things like that.
What file is that that's crashing on me here? Where is it calling that? Is that one of the scripts you wrote, or
I don't think so.
that's pre-commit itself? So we have pre-commit working on the salt repo.
Yeah, I would take a look at the pre-commit file at the top. You just had it. Pre-commit config. That's what it's going to install, is those pre-commit hooks.
Ah, right, I see.
So you can compare and contrast to the ones in the salt repo. That is if Pedro has them working.
Yeah, I don't believe that it's the file it was failing on was RBN, which is like Ruby, and I know the shell check hook uses Ruby, I believe.
The spell check?
The shell
Oh,
check
right there.
hook. Maybe even the markdown lint as well. So yeah, I mean, like I say, I didn't try this on Windows itself.
Okay.
but within Travis, it runs on Ubuntu or whatever image that they have there.
It runs these same checks then
Yeah, exactly.
on Travis. Okay. So it doesn't have to work in Windows to.
No, but I can see that it would help. It would be beneficial.
So it ran right here. I want to look at this. I want to see what ran.
Yeah, if you look at the details and where it says the build passed, that will take you through to Travis, yeah.
But you didn't modify any.
Not in this one, but you can go to my fork, yeah. 1FYDD, yeah, J. If you look at the branches, I'm sure if you look at something like a branch and commit number 2, branch and commit 2.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this looks good to me. This replaces the current tests.
Well, I would say
it's in addition
yeah,
to.
It's in addition to. I haven't really changed the current tests at all, other than the fact that it ran inefficiently in the sense that it parses the package files twice for the grain x86 and x64 or whatever, the architecture, and it was doing that on every file regardless of if that package file uses those grains. So it was some of the package files, it would run the URL test twice, regardless of if there was a difference between the x86 and 64-bit, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So that is a change that I've made to the tests.py to actually check beforehand whether the package file uses this CPU arch grain, and if it doesn't, only run the tests once. So that is in an inner loop rather than an outer loop where it was previously.
Oh. Okay. And you've run this on the entire project and to see if,
I have.
If it crashes on any of the existing SLS files?
I have, yeah. It runs, it takes about 10, 13 minutes
Okay.
to run on all of them.
I think it looks good to me. You okay if I merge it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm happy with it.
Merge.
All right. So does it run a full test when it merges, or is it'll just be on the next?
No, at the moment it's on a cron job. But that was something, personally, on my fork, I've added that cron job to GitHub Actions. So because I haven't included that in this PR because I wasn't sure if there was any issue with running things in GitHub Actions.
And I can't see your actions, right?
Um,
Oh, there we go.
yeah, you should be able to. So yeah, this was something that I wanted to bring up. I mean, there's many failures. If you run it across the whole repository, there are about 300 failures. And I thought that maybe we could have a kind of,
Code jam.
yeah, well, that kind of thing. Yeah, make an effort to clean them up.
Okay.
But while I was kind of thinking about that, and I started doing some cleaning up, it is quite time consuming. I realized
These URL failures, or are there other issues?
The only ones I've really looked at are URL failures. I don't think there are any kind of syntax failures, but then I haven't. But what the test script does is for syntax failures, it actually kind of ignores them rather than flags them. So yeah, again, that's something we can maybe work on further. I mean, because I've been doing some work with Windows, the Windows platform on GitHub Actions for the formulas group, we could probably add a test that does a package refresh on the whole repo, on every commit. Like to make sure that there's no syntax errors.
Yeah, I don't know what the best way is. One of the repos I work in, it does a full run on my PR. And then when I merge it, it does another full run on everything just to make sure it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
What repo is that?
Some of the SRE stuff.
Oh.
And I think Salt does it too, doesn't it? Kind of does, actually does a quick run because our tests are so slow in Salt. Does a quick run on the PR, and then when it's merged, it does a full long test.
Yes. Most of that's configured again in the .precommit YAML, and where we actually are pulling from. The pre-commit config YAML file for Salt is almost 800 lines long. It is a massive file.
Wow. So our markdown failed on this one. Markdown lint. Part of one of the things. I didn't know there was more here.
Yeah, okay, well.
Shell check failed.
Oh,
is
nice.
That's on my my repository, is it? Okay, well, I'll need to. I think these are things which I was playing with while developing this. I don't think this is actually accurate to. I think that's on a different branch, which was. I don't know. I'll have to look at that.
Okay.
But I haven't included all of this in this latest PR because, yeah, I mean, I didn't want to commit something which was going to cause problems.
So you're saying we could schedule this though?
Well, I mean, yeah, with GitHub Actions, you can schedule that, set as a configuration, as a file in the repo itself.
Oh, is that how you do it?
Yeah, whereas I think the current setup, it does run that, they call it the cron job, which runs on every file, but it's done in Travis and it's configured within Travis rather than in a configuration file.
Sorry, I'm just clicking it.
So
You're saying to add it to this.
well, I mean, for Travis, the setup, you would have to go into their interface and set up a scheduled job. With GitHub Actions, you actually commit it as a configuration file in the repo itself. So then it's, if somebody forked the repo, it would run for them as well. So that's one advantage of that, and the fact that everybody can see what the schedule is, okay, rather than it being kind of tucked away in the Travis UI.
So you're saying we can do it through GitHub, or we can do it through Travis CI?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should do it through the more visible way. I am not an SRE guy, and this is, so this is all, but I'm learning a lot. So don't use their little boilerplate thing here.
Well, it's far too complicated.
This is?
Yeah, well, yeah, this one here. I mean, I've got the schedule script running in my fork. It's a lot simpler than that boilerplate there. I'll be quite happy to submit it if you wanted. It's just I thought I would start with the simple. If it's under .github workflows.
Oh, it's the cron. And it just runs pre-commit?
Yes.
Does it show us a list of what URLs are bad and all that stuff?
Yeah, if you go to the Actions tab, the very latest results, yeah. Click on check URLs, yes, and then yeah, open that up.
Okay, this is what we were looking at before.
Okay, right. Well,
but
obviously
it did have all these down here.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. It looks like a dependency has gone wrong or something.
Yeah, I think this would be good. And you have it running once a day. How often do you have it running?
I've been doing it twice a day, but
twice a day.
Then yeah, I get an email twice a day at the moment.
I would be good with once a week. I mean, honestly, I don't merge that much. I go and check it. I don't think I've checked in a couple of weeks, and there's only 3 PRs waiting. So, I mean, I'd be good if we ran it once a week.
Okay, well, that's certainly possible.
So we got 1 from you and 2 from Stratus Jerry.
And yeah, I've had thoughts of adding a check which actually installs the package. What would you think about that?
Oh, to actually download and install it.
Yeah.
You would need some Windows instances then.
Yeah, you can do that as part of GitHub Actions.
Really?
Yeah, again, this is stuff
available for free.
Sorry, it's available for free. Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, I don't think we could install every version of every package, but certainly on a commit, I would suggest that we install the latest version of those packages which are touched by a commit or a PR, because you could have all the URLs being right and all the syntax being correct, but the actual functionally,
The installation fails.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Would it be done through Salt using the package manager, or would it just? Be
Well,
taking
that would be the simplest way. Yes.
Okay, so it would basically spin up a Windows instance,
Spin up a Windows install Salt, which I already do in the formulas, and then refresh the database based on check out the PR, do the package refresh DB, and then do a package install of version equals latest. Yeah. The latest is the default. And then check whether that's successful or not.
That would be awesome too. You have time to do that?
Well, I mean, I'm quite keen on improving this. So, yeah, why not? I mean, I can't guarantee, that I'll do it in the next two or 3 days or whatever, but certainly over the next few weeks, I can look at it.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I would merge that PR.
Okay.
Anything we do is get some better testing. I've become a fan of tests, as painful as they are to write. I think it is a good thing to have.
Okay, and then another thing which I was thinking about was, again, this stuff kind of comes from the formulas working group. We automatically generate change logs and tag releases. And I think that could be useful in this repo, so that you don't have to kind of list through the history, checking commit messages and things like that. You just read a change log to see what the latest package changes are. The only kind of caveat with this is, at least the way we do it in formulas, you then have to write a commit message in a standard way. So there's a format for that. I don't know how people would kind of take that, the contributors.
Well, it would probably. Oh, you mean when they do their commits?
Yeah. So when they do a commit, if you write the commit in a kind of a standardized way, you can turn that into a change log. Is that something that sounds reasonable?
So I think they went with another tool in Salt Open.
That's true. I think
I can't remember the name of it, but
is it Town Crier?
Yeah, yes.
Or something like that.
And we actually every time we do a PR, part of it is to add a file into a changelog directory that has the issue ID, and then what it fixes is inside. So we did talk about that because we didn't want to have that extra burden of having people have to format their commits a certain way. And they decided to go with the Town Crier approach.
Sure. The only thing I'll say to that is it for this repository itself, it almost feels a bit overkill.
Yes, this is a much smaller.
Yeah, and these commit messages would only need to be very simple, almost to the degree that it would just be like the name of the package : or something like update, name of the package, and then you put the version number. And I don't know, I mean, this is, yeah, we could have this discussion, further discussion around this. But
I don't think we've
yeah,
ever done a release on this. It's always just been a rolling
yeah,
release, rolling updates.
that's right.
Wanted your changes to be instantaneous and not have to do a release.
In the formulas, the releases are automated, so that a release is kind of cut on every PR in formulas, and all I can say is in the formulas it works well.
So when you merge a PR, it tags a release.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have something in there that creates a tag and
Yeah.
reads the commit message and generates
Exactly.
a change
Yeah. It's
log.
I think the package is called semantic release.
I spell that right.
Yeah, that's the one. I think it's written in Node. If I
NPM. And the commit message format.
Yeah, it's something like that. No, I mean, these messages are to do with code changes. And so it's, if you're fixing a bug or whatever, which isn't exactly relevant to SaltWind repo, but you can configure this. So you can configure the types of patches and releases that you do. So I think we could probably configure something that makes sense.
Okay, let's I don't think it would be an issue to have people format their commit messages, because honestly, it's me, you, Stratus, Jerry, and maybe a couple other people that regularly commit to this repo. It's not like we have hundreds of people doing this. I wouldn't really. I think this would be great. Oh, let me put that we. What else did we talk about it in? Setting up a
schedule
for test runs.
I also mentioned, doing an actual install test
Yes.
on a change.
Okay, well, which one do we want to do first? You were going to do, you thought this one was,
Well, I've pretty much done that.
okay, and you just need to submit a PR for that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
decided
and change it to once a week, I think you said.
weekly. Okay, yeah, do you see any reason to go more frequent than that?
Well, not at the moment, at least because we don't have a process for fixing, a real process for fixing the issues anyway. So a week would be fine, at least in this initial.
Okay, we can modify that later.
Yeah, with these broken definitions, I had a question that one that I came across was only had one version of a particular of the package or of the binary, and that has gone away. It's one of the Microsoft ones, and the question I had was, if a package no longer has any valid URLs or the binary just doesn't exist, do we just remove it from the repo?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder if we
Because
should move it
people
into
might, there's still the
an archive
uninstall.
folder or something. Yeah, that's true. We can, that reminds me to a possible solution here. Grab the wrong one here. So this is our Salt, for the Salt installer.
Yeah, I saw this.
And we recently had a CVE, and we didn't want people installing those. So we added a uninstaller only version, basically, that only defines the uninstaller but not an installer. So it would allow it to still show up when Salt does its list packages, but you wouldn't be able to install, but you could still uninstall.
Yes.
So maybe we could move them to something like that if the URL no longer exists and we can't find where it is now. That might be an option.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, this has been awesome. This uses all Circle CI. Is that the default, or is that just, or Travis?
Travis, yeah.
That's just an easy one to use.
Well, I think it's the one which historically was was most fully featured, yeah. But no, I mean, GitHub Actions has only become available really in the last six months or so to the public. So yeah, that is something fairly new, and it's got more. Well, personally, from my experience with it, it's more a rounded system. I mean, it's all configured in YAML, and it's got more. The Windows kind of image that they use is very well put together. It's like Server 2019 or something. It's got loads and loads of dependencies already installed in it. Yeah.
Okay. So you have this one done.
I've got the schedule pretty much done. Yeah.
This one might be a little further down the road.
Yeah, the install test.
Or do you...
I know, I'm pretty sure it's possible. It would require a bit more work.
Okay, so that's still testing.
And
this.
The automated release thing, again, is something that we use in the formulas working group. So I know how that all works, but actually applying it in Saltwind repo, yeah, would need some tweaking.
Okay. So we would need to bring the semantic release code in and then add it to some sort of a hook on a commit.
Yeah, well, you can configure that in either Travis, yeah, whichever way. In formulas, we use Travis for that. And yeah, in the configuration file, you can define when a particular script is run. So yeah, I think that would be when you would run it on the master branch only. So when a commit hits the master branch, it triggers this semantic release.
Okay. Okay, well, for action items, David, David. There's another guy that works at Salt, David Murphy.
We have two Davids. David
But
Hilton.
he goes by Daithí because he's from Ireland,
Mm-hmm.
and so his name's actually Dathi, but he just goes by David because he knows us gringos.
Yeah, well, there is some. There are links between Wales and Ireland. We're Celtic, from a Celtic background. So they have their own language, Gaelic, and Welsh. We have, well, Welsh language.
What did we say you were going to look at
The semantic
installation
release,
test?
yeah.
Or
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is that the one you
Well,
were going to hit, or you're going to hit all of them?
well, I'm gonna try. I think I'll hit all of them. Yeah.
Okay.
This is probably the more challenging one,
The
the installation one, just because it's something which isn't done currently. Whereas these other two, they're at least done somewhere or other.
Okay.
So yeah, the semantic release stuff, I can just bring it in from formulas, really.
Okay. With a few little tweaks.
Yeah.
That's a stretch goal then. So what's me and Joe gonna do?
Great question.
If we can get at least one full test run, I could start looking at broken URLs and broken.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can bring the schedule test in today, probably, or at least today, tomorrow.
Okay. You want to do that with me, Joe?
Let's do it.
We can do that.
And there is one other thing, I mean, which I'm not sure is how important it would be, but the actual test.py script is in Python 2.
Yes.
And obviously that's deprecated or end of life now. And I mean, I'm not a Python developer, so I did actually have a play around with upgrading it to Python 3, upgrading the script, but I came up to something which I couldn't really get past, so a blocker.
Do I have this open already somewhere? There we go. So test.py.
Yeah, it's .travis.
Test.py. So it's this IO stuff. Reload isn't available. How do you even test it? Do you have to push it and see if it runs, or?
Well, so, I don't know if you've got, certainly it runs on a Linux machine.
So what's running this? The Travis CI is spinning up something that's running it?
Yeah, Ubuntu.
And we're telling it to run on Pi 2?
Well, it was Pi 2. I've changed that because pre-commit handles the environment thing.
Oh, you've already done it.
Well, I've set the environment so that it runs on Pi 2. But what I haven't done is migrate to Pi 3. I haven't done any of that.
Right here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so we need to change that to 3 dot what's available on the, was it a Docker image, or what's running this?
Well, it's running Travis. I think it's on Ubuntu. I don't think it's run in, or maybe it is running Docker. Yeah, maybe a Docker container, because in the formulas we use Docker in Docker within Travis. So yeah, the whole thing must be running in Docker, I think.
Do you know what value we need to put there? Is it 3.5? Is it 3.7, 3.8?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay.
But I think I did. I think it's 3.7. I'm sure we could search.
Do you want me to work on that?
Well, I mean,
Getting that
I'm.
script over to 3.
I think it's probably worth doing.
Okay. I can probably take that. All right, I will do that. I don't think that'll take very long. Can I just run it? If I just have it on my box, can I just run it? Or does it have to be in a certain environment?
No, it's very. The only, as long as you can install the requirements, and there is a dependency on libcurl. So yeah, I'm not sure how you would go about that on Windows, if that's where you're developing.
Yeah, I'm kind of the Windows guy, so I try to stay pure, unadulterated by other OSs.
We like to keep Windows nice and clean.
Okay, well, cool.
Yeah, just to add here, there's a forum post from June of 2019 which says Python 3.6 is the default on Travis.
Okay.
Whether that has changed or not, I don't know.
Okay. Awesome. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
I did have, this is unrelated, I did have one thing I wanted to bring up with regards to Windows. It's the possibility of running Windows as, running Salt Minion as a user, standard user. And, you know, because obviously a lot of things in Windows are set up in the user profile of a user, and at the moment I think that's not even possible, because a standard user can't even read the directory c/salt. So I'm not saying here that a user would write files into c/salt,
But you need a way
to at least be able to read
to
the
modify
binary.
to modify a user's profile from Salt,
Yes.
like
Without
be on the
running-
system as if you were that user.
Exactly, yeah. Write
Okay.
some configuration files as if you were that user. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so there is some run as functionality. I don't know how well it works. It's only available, from what I understand, in like the command.run module, where you can
Yeah,
run as
I
another
mean,
individual. But it would be, I could see doing like a file.managed, and then having an environment variable for the profile, and then doing a run as, letting, select the user, and then having that get populated by that user so that it would go into the right directory.
yeah, but then I'm proposing a different way, which is basically the minion running within that user's profile as that user. It wouldn't even have to be a daemon running continuously. It could run on login as a logon script, do some stuff, and then end.
Would a salt call be enough?
Oh yeah, I think so. But the issue is, with the current installer, a standard user can't even see the Salt core binary or any of the Salt libraries or anything like that.
Right. So that's for security reasons. They lock down the PKI directory, the PI, the PID,
Yeah. So
I don't have access to my own Salt directory on mine. I have an admin user on my.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm asking for is more granular permissions on the Salt directory.
Well, you would have to give that user permissions.
Well, yeah, to certain things, yeah.
Right. And I think it's Salt. And then the
Salt
PKI
bin
directory. I think it's the Salt and the PKI directory. I got to find the Salt code where that gets locked down here.
I'm not sure that you would even want the PKI directory,
Well,
because you could have the user would have their own.
I see. You have,
like,
but then
Salt
the master sees it as a separate
as a different minion, yeah.
So you're talking about having like a user minion on the machine that would do things as the user.
Exactly, yeah. And it's an idea I saw in somebody was doing it or wanted to do it on OS X for the same reason, that some things are much easier to configure as the user itself, user themselves.
So they installed Salt under a user profile, and then this wasn't Windows, apparently. This was Linux or
Yeah,
something.
it wasn't Windows, but I think on OS X and probably Linux as well, mostly a normal user can still see many files, can at least see binaries and things. Whereas maybe they wouldn't be able to read or write sensitive folders like the var directories or even etc.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can still at least run, see the binaries and run it as that user. And with Salt, you can, Salt Core, at least you can do a -C, I think it is, to set the root directory.
With Python? Python-C?
No, not Python, but just from the command line.
Oh, yeah. You could where the config. It tells it where the config is.
Yeah.
And then in that config, you can define all those
A root directory,
the
yeah.
other directories.
Yes, that's right.
So it's probably possible to do now, but it would be a lot of troubleshooting, trying to figure out what you need to set file roots and pillar data and all the config settings in the minion config. So it'd be its own minion config basically.
Yeah.
And then permissions to whatever files. And in that minion config, you can, I think PKI dir is a setting, and you could point it to a location where that user has rights. I think it's all doable. It's probably more of a documentation issue than.
Well, I think there is one blocker, which is the permissions set by the Salt installer, in the fact that the whole C/Salt is locked down.
Yes. But you could add the user to that one, but not to the PKI.
Yeah, you'd exactly. You'd need more granular control of the permissions.
However, the next time the regular machine system Salt minion ran, it resets those permissions. Every time it launches, it resets permissions.
Does it? Okay.
And PKI.
That's the kind of thing that I don't know. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, and that's why I was looking for that code. And I'm not sure where it is. Not sure if it's in the util. Is it under conf PKI? I was hoping I could, I can't remember where the code is, so I'm trying to think of some part of it. It's S-1- I think I found it right here. Yeah. So right here in the verify.py, that is a Salt util. It goes through and sets all the permissions. So it sets it to, gives the admin. If you're an administrator, then it makes the administrator the owner.
Yeah, okay.
This is doing some stuff with the tackles, and it also sets the PKI dir. So those are the two things that get set, and this gets called every time salt launches. And this is the system user. This is the owner, and this is, I think it's the administrators group.
Mm.
And we use these so that it's the locale doesn't matter. So using the GUID instead of administrators, so that it wouldn't matter what language the OS is in, which locale we're on.
Okay, well,
I don't know how we get around this unless you set unless in the systems minion config, maybe you could add a setting for a list of users that you would want. And then in this code, we could add those users. And maybe not grant full control, but just read-only access to see salt, but not this one.
mm-hmm.
And then that would let them see the binaries. I wonder if we could just do that now, just add users, just give them read and execute out of this directory, but not full control and write. They need to be able to write, it needs to be able to write a PID file too though, but that might be definable in the minion config. So I don't know, I'd have to talk to Tom about this since we're modifying permissions.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand that.
And I don't want to be the cause of a CVE, you know.
Yeah, no,
exposing some vulnerability.
I can understand that, but you know, it is standard in Linux, at least, that a normal user can see read a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly binaries and things like that, even if they can't change anything.
But I don't think they can get into Etsy Salt on Linux.
No, but they'd at least be able to run the binary.
That's because Linux
And then
sends things out.
Yeah, I know that. I know it's a different model, but
so maybe we should architect this differently. You know, we're looking at moving all this
into program files.
Into program files and program data.
Yeah, well, that would solve the issue. Yeah.
And if you moved it into program files, yeah, we need to talk about how to architect it and what to lock down and what to make available, where to put the configs so they're secure. But yeah, and we're talking about making it movable so you could move it. You could install Salt at any location.
Mm-hmm.
And if that was the case, you could also install Salt per user and have Salt installed in the user's temp directory.
Yeah, that would be another. That would be another.
Programs do that already. When
Yeah.
they don't have permissions to install software, it just installs
Mm-hmm.
it there.
App data, yeah.
Yeah, in app data, that's right. So maybe that would be an option too. But that would mean that the user would have to install it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could do it a lot as a logon script or something like that. But my preferred option would be, like you were saying, that with things split out into program files and program data.
Right. Yes, I understand what you want to do. We can't do it now, I don't think.
No, that's, I mean,
now.
This is like blue sky.
Right, but it is something I think that would be useful. On the same machine.
Because most of my config management is around desktop workstations rather than server stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I would want to do as a user themselves, because I want to keep away from things like group policy. And I think Salt could do this. With the WinReg and file managed, it could do a hell of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you wouldn't need to add users. You wouldn't need to. Well, there may be some software that you could install. I don't know, on a per user basis instead of. I don't know. Start with registry and files, and then. Yeah, I can see we should probably. This might be something that would require writing a SEP for. Are you familiar with the SEPs?
I am, yeah. Well, I haven't written any or anything like that.
Me neither, but it's just a proposal on an architecture change, or because this would be a bigger change. I think there may already be one for, maybe there isn't one, but maybe we ought to write one for the ability to install Salt anywhere and add some of this in there, since we'd be splitting things out.
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting to understand. See, so you have serve Salt. Oh, your file roots is. You have etc Salt, which is where the configs are, and then where is Salt actually installed? Is it like user bin or something, or I don't know how Linux is laid out.
Yeah, user local bin. I would imagine.
Okay, that's where the actual binaries are.
Yeah.
And those never get changed.
No.
So
and then yeah, probably
read the binaries, and then they can define through minion config where the PKIs are, where
exactly,
where the file roots is, where everything is. Okay, so I could see us doing that. So program files would be like user local bin.
Mm-hmm.
Program data would be, was that where we would put
the etc stuff? Yeah, etc Salt.
All the config, but we would need to be able to lock it down for the system stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a safe place to put stuff in program data?
Well, you have, the installer has control of, you would have to set the permissions restrictively, but that's certainly possible.
And then if a user wanted to do it, they would put their user config stuff in their
in app data, yeah.
App data. Okay, I'm smelling what you're stepping in. Yeah, it would be doable, but I think it would need to all be written out like we're talking about it in a SEP.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the action here is to write a SEP. What did I just do? I've never written a set. Maybe this would be a good one for me to do. Is it program data? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's right.
And it's a hidden
It's hidden
directory.
by default, yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna need to think about this. Think about what all the Windows equivalents are.
I don't think I don't think Windows has an equivalent of serve.
Well, we do. It's C salt, serve salt is where it ends up going. So we do
Okay,
have
yeah.
master. Master does run on Windows. We just don't create the binaries for it when you pip install it. There's some manual things you have to do, but we use it in our test suite when we're doing integration tests. It's a Windows master that is sending out commands to a Windows minion. And so we still have to count for all those directories. We do plan on eventually doing master on Windows, but until we can get all the tests running on it that run on Linux, we didn't feel like we could say we didn't want to have to support it.
Yeah, sure.
You know. All right. Well, I'll look at writing a set too. I don't know if I'm going to get to all this. All right. Cool. Was there anything else that we need to talk about in our hour and a half long Windows working group?
No, that's me done.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, David, for your time and for your suggestions and your work.
Okay, yeah, cool.
On the WinRepo stuff. It's awesome. We'll get together again next week and see what Marcus has for us, and hopefully we can get through some of these action items before then.
Next week or next month?
Yeah, next month. I'm sorry.
All right. I thought things weren't moving as quickly as that.
Yeah. Okay, and I'll push this up. It'll be available on the community repo, and Marcus can look over it and see what he thinks. Again,
great.
thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate your input. It's awesome.
Cheers then. Okay. Bye.
Okay. See ya. Bye.